Video. Take one.
Hey everybody, Ben here from CapArms. I'm here today to show you our new quiet shuttle system. So what we have here is a system that was designed to be an improvement on your standard AR-15 buffer system. Everybody's used to the standard sproing that you hear from that standard buffer system. We started making suppressors at the beginning of this year, and when you start getting into something like that, you realize that there's so much other noises in the firearm. And what we wanted to do is figure out a way to start to quiet all of that down. So what we did was we designed the quiet shuttle system. This is your rear receiver setup, and what it is it's a guide rod with a rear receiver tube. Now this rear receiver tube is built specifically to fit inside of your standard buffer tube and keep the system concentric. That way we were able to make the weights much smaller than the actual buffer tube itself, so that there is actually no reciprocating contact with the buffer tube while this thing's in action. The standard kit comes with a light spring, which is green, a heavy spring, which is painted yellow, 3 spacer washers, your rear receiver assembly, a light shuttle, and a heavy shuttle. So this is a tunable kit. You can tune it for your use it in conjunction with an adjustable gas system or an array of other things. So we're going to actually show you the installation process of this system. As you can see here, firearm is clear and safe. Always check that first thing. The only 2 tools that you're going to need for the installation of this buffer system is your standard castle nut wrench and some sort of either a punch or I use a jeweler's screwdriver to install these. So you're going to take a standard mil-spec AR-15. You're going to remove your rear takedown pin or pull it out. And everybody knows the standard buffer system in an AR-15. You've got your buffer retainer here, which is just a little detent that holds your buffer in place. So you're going to take your jeweler's screwdriver, punch, whatever it may be. You're going to get in here, you're going to press down your buffer detent, buffer retainer, and you're going to allow that old spring and buffer to come out. You can go ahead and set these to the side, as you're not going to be using them again. After that, with the QSS quiet shuttle system, being that the weights in these are so much smaller in diameter, you actually have to remove the buffer retainer to get proper use from your QSS system. So we're going to go ahead and take our castle nut wrench, get that on the back here, loosen your castle nut and your end plate. Now some ARs you're going to have to press down on that buffer retainer and hold it down as you unscrew your buffer tube just enough to allow the buffer retainer to rise up and come out. You're going to remove the retainer spring, set those off to the side. Those will not be going back in the rifle. Now what we're going to do is we're going to turn this back to where it needs to be. Turn your castle nut back in. Make sure not to lose your spring for your takedown pin. Tighten your castle nut back down. Make sure to not crank on this too hard, as all the parts in here are aluminum. And if you crank on them too hard, you will break or deform these parts. So just snug it up. And then we're ready to install our quiet shuttle system. So now the first thing you're going to do is you're going to take your rear receiver. We have this trigger pocket relief cut into the rear receiver tube, and that's just meant to get around your trigger. Makes it a little bit easier to install. So you're going to go ahead and get that set in place and push it back into your buffer tube. Now what we're looking for is to make sure that the tip of the guide rod is actually flush with the inside of the lower receiver here. This one isn't, so we're actually going to take this, we're going to slide this back out a little ways so we can get a hold of it. Remove that rear receiver tube, and we're going to take, this one looked like it needed about 2. Generally you'll start with one spacer shim at a time. Insert the rear receiver back into the buffer tube until the tip of this rod goes flush with the buffer tube and the lower receiver. So we're going to go ahead and drop our spacer shims in, put our rear receiver tube back into the rifle, we are now flush with the backside, or with the flat portion of our lower receiver. Once we've done that, you're going to take your desired spring and your desired weight. You're going to slide your spring over the guide rod into the rifle, take your weight, slide it over the spring, with the curved end facing backwards. You're going to push that back in and hold it in while you close your upper receiver. So the system is not held in place by anything other than the pressure from your bolt carrier group. So during installation and removal, be careful that that does not come springing back out. While you're tuning this system, you're going to have to take it in and out a couple of different times. So to remember, when you're taking that apart, you're going to remove your takedown pin. And you're going to keep a finger, you can use a screwdriver, anything like that, in place as you start to open the upper receiver, and catch that weight and guide it out. So there you have it. We've got our new CapArms Quiet Shuttle System. We do have some new weight and spring combinations that we're working on right now. This system right now is designed specifically for AR-15 platforms only, so they're not for AR-10s, they're not for rifle length buffer tubes, and not for PCCs. However, we are working on those. So keep an eye out on our webpage, caparms.com, for more details. Thanks for watching.